Welcome, friends, to the Universal Body Meditation, the sphere of Panna, wisdom. And although I gave a little bit of a disclaimer in the very beginning of this video series, I feel like we've come to a point where very briefly I just need to mention another one. And I think I already touched on this as well. In general, with Buddhism, or Buddhist meditation, I should say, you have, in general, two kind of categories or areas of meditation. Like the most well-known, people are familiar with, the area of tranquility and then insight. And so we have successfully gone through the three spheres of the Dharmakaya meditation: the sphere of Dharma, the sphere of Sila, morality, the sphere of Samadhi, which is concentration. Now we're entering into the sphere of Panna, which is wisdom, which is specifically about insight. Now that we've had sufficient awareness of Dharma, the impermanent nature underlying all of reality, known reality, I should say, the sphere of Sila, to work on our morality, the sphere of concentration, to put our attention where we want it. Now we've sufficiently, through those previous three spheres of the Dharmakaya, made ourselves tranquil enough to have true insight. So, the last two folds, so to speak, of the Eightfold Noble Path are within the sphere of Panna. So, the first sphere of this practice is the sphere of Dharma, understanding, bringing our five aggregates to the radiant nucleus of the center of the pearl, which represents the impermanent reality underlying the known universe, our feelings, memory, thought, awareness, feeling, memory, thought, awareness. That sphere expands, the sphere of pure awareness as a pure, clear light, crystal sphere surrounding us. And then we return our awareness to the nucleus of the center, because all the centers of all the pearls and all the bodies we expand ourselves out to are concentric. So you always return your awareness to the radiant nucleus of the center. So once you've done that with the sphere of Dhamma, which again, or Dharma, same really, the essence of this practice, feeling, memory, thought, awareness, feeling, memory, thought, awareness, that awareness expands, and then you go through the Eightfold Noble Path. The sphere of Sila has three spheres, or three folds of the Eightfold Noble Path. Okay, right speech, right action, right livelihood. Then we worked on the sphere of Samadhi, the sphere of concentration, which has three more spheres, or folds of the Eightfold Noble Path. Okay, which is right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Keep dropping our awareness to the nucleus of the pearl, that pearl expands, and then the sphere of Panna appears, which contains the last two spheres or folds of the Eightfold Noble Path, which are right understanding of the law of nature, which is namely the Four Noble Truths, and right intent to practice it. It's kind of like the idea is, once we have that right understanding that suffering is attachment and joy, or non-suffering is letting go, the intention now to work on that letting go, and that's essentially what the Eightfold Noble Path is. It's essentially the Fourth Noble Truth. So if you think about it, between suffering, the cause of suffering, non-attachment or joy, and the cause of joy, where do you want to have your right thought or right intent? Because law is governed by intent. Where do you want to focus? It makes sense. The cause of joy, the systematic practice of letting go, which becomes the entirety of the Eightfold Noble Path. And kind of what I was touching on a minute ago, I don't think I actually got to my point regarding the disclaimer. So now that we're really entering upon the sphere of wisdom, the sphere of insight, I just want to say again that I'm a layperson, and that, what I'm offering you here, again, from the heart, because for many years, I've practiced this every day for almost 12 years, as I've mentioned. I wanted to present this information because I've gained so much benefit from it. And this is just like a surface scratch, by the way. I mean, this is such a deep practice. You really just have to go into it yourself and see what it can yield for you. But simple point being that just to finish the notion of disclaimer, that this is just what I've found to work for me, again, as a layperson, which really all that means is that I'm in the world, that I'm, I work, I'm in school, I have all the things in the world that I do, and this is just how I have come to practice this. And I'm just saying this with reverence, because this is some of the most powerful, philosophical super science, as I mentioned, or spiritual technology that I've ever seen or heard about in practicing and teaching yoga in the most yoga-rich place in the world. Majority of my time teaching yoga was in Los Angeles, and there's more yogis per capita in Southern California than anywhere in the world. And so I had exposure to all this practice, and when I got turned on to this, I was like, whoa, it's just, they don't call the Rolls Royce of Buddhist meditation for nothing. So I'm just letting you know, just to finish up on that idea and then get to the practice, that there's always more to it. And then if you want to go and train with the monks and really get the download, by all means. But I'm just letting you know, this is how I've come to practice it. And basically, I just, I hope that I'm just doing my best to present this timeless, ancient, powerful teaching. And so I'm sure there's things, angles, insights that I'm, within the sphere of insight that I'm leaving out. I mean, there's only so much I can cover. So I just want to mention that I'm doing my best out of reverence and respect to present this for your benefit. Okay? So I hope that covers the disclaimer that I'm just doing my best here for you. So the practice is exactly the same as we have done up until now. You start with the previous spheres of the Dharmakaya, and what I'm going to do for you today, actually, when we get to the practice, because as always, I'm going to do a little context, keep it minimal, best I can, and then dive right into the practice, is I'm going to kind of do two practices for it. I'm going to do kind of like the quick version, because day to day as I use this, I just kind of go through it quickly. Kind of like, if you think of the difference between an automatic transmission and manual, sometimes I do this practice, and all my practices, kind of a manual transmission, like race car. They really stretch out the gears, really, take their time in each of those layers to optimize. But day to day, moment to moment, sometimes I just want to cycle through it quickly to really purify the layers of my mind. Quite honestly, it's more often I practice it in kind of the quick version, and when I have more time, when I need more healing, I'll do more of the manual transmission of just taking longer, specifically with the elemental sphere, as I've mentioned before. So today, I'm going to do both. I'm going to start off the practice just kind of going very quickly, just to show you how literally you just drop all 6 spheres of the Dharmakaya into your center. You just first the sphere of Dharma, feeling, memory, thought, awareness. That awareness expands, and then you contemplate the remaining 5 spheres of the Dharmakaya. You let them all fall into the same center, the sphere of Sila, right speech, right action, right livelihood, fall to the same center. That sphere expands. You bring to that same center the sphere of Samadhi, concentration, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration itself. That sphere expands. You bring the sphere which we're working on today, Panna, wisdom, right understanding, and right intent, to practice that right understanding, namely the Eightfold Noble Path. That sphere expands, and that's as far as we'll go today. But then, of course, the remaining 2 spheres, sphere of Vimutti, liberation, and Vimutti, Nanadasana. And again, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing the Sanskrit, but the sphere of liberation, and then the next sphere, which is knowledge and perception gained through liberation. So it can just be that quick, boom, boom, boom. You just drop all 6 spheres to your center, and then it expands. And then you drop them again to your center, and it expands, and so forth. The long-winded version is, which I'll get to, but just a real quick soundbite. It's really just the same thing, except you just focus on the elemental sphere after you work on the sphere of Dharma, feeling, memory, thought, awareness, and then you focus on that elemental equalization that we've been doing with the spinning sphere. And then you just take more time with each of the layers of the Eightfold Noble Path, the sphere of Sila, Samadhi, Panna, and so forth, each one. So that's it. So I'll go through both of them today, but just so you, just contextually, so I get that out of the way, what the sphere of Panna is in the Dharmakaya practice. Again, as I mentioned, it's the remaining 2 spheres or folds of the Eightfold Noble Path. And the Eightfold Noble Path actually starts when you go and study what is the Eightfold Noble Path. It actually is presented with right understanding and right intent or right thought first, then gets to right speech, right action, right livelihood, and it goes in the order that this practice goes. But and the reason for that is why you have right understanding first is if you don't have right understanding that suffering has a cause, non-suffering or joy has a cause, and you don't have a right intent to practice that, it's none of the rest of it matters. It doesn't, because that's why we work on the sphere of Dharma first. And that's why I've emphasized, above all, work on the sphere of Dharma. Bring your feeling, memory, thought, awareness to the center, and look for the pattern of each of those phenomena. Okay, so that is why when the Eightfold Noble Path is presented, right understanding is the first one. You need to, out of that right understanding comes the impetus to practice this whole thing. But once you get into this systematic withdrawal of the non-healthy attachment that leads to suffering, which this practice is the most well-rounded system I've ever seen or heard about for doing that in the field of Buddhism, or at all, period. I mean, Buddhism is all about that. Okay, you actually, it goes in the order that we've presented it. Okay, so now you have to work on your sila and morality and your samadhi, your concentration, before you can get to the insight, because now you're really penetrating into the true nature of nature with the right understanding of it and the right intent to put, to align with it, basically. It's basically what's happening here. So that is why, again, in the big picture of Buddhism, just kind of surface glance, people, when they say, oh, do you know Buddhist meditation? Yeah, we work on tranquility and insight. That's why the way this is presented, you've got to have the previous 3 spheres, under your belt, literally, or I guess just above your belt, depending on where your belt is. But anyway, work on them. Bring them to your center. Dharma, sila, samadhi, and then you get to the wisdom, which is the sphere we're going to be working on today. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Right understanding is, in right intent, the 2 spheres we're working on today, again, as I said, are the 4 Noble Truths. Right understanding is truth that suffering exists, the truth that it has a cause, the truth that non-suffering or joy exists, and the truth that has a cause. People sometimes get confused with the 4 nobles. It's really just suffering and non-suffering. That's it. And each one has a cause. So it's pretty simple. It's like the 2 masks of the drama. One's happy, one's sad. And each one has a cause. It's so simple. Really, really simple. That's why in my own practice and how I'm presenting it, I just cut to the chase. Yeah, non-suffering, for me, that is joy. Suffering, attachment, joy, letting go. If you can just work on that, suffering, attachment, joy, letting go. And in an impermanent universe, that awareness is going to go a long, long way in terms of you aligning with the pattern of the universe and in terms of you letting go of your own suffering. So once we reflect on that, the 4 layers of right understanding, suffering, attachment, joy, letting go. Now within that realm, there's the right intention to practice that systematic letting go, to cultivate the highest non-attachment and the highest joy for ourselves and ultimately all sentient beings. Okay, so that's it in terms of this sphere of wisdom. We're going to focus on suffering, attachment, joy, letting go, and then our intention to relax and let go into that radiant center, that pattern phenomena at the center of all centers. I mean, that's what we're aligning with. That's the idea, a universal body. This is the universal pattern of phenomena. So aligning with the universal, center of centers, you become that center. That's the idea. Not intellectually because I think so. I embody it. I feel it in my body. You become that body. Okay? So I think that's all I want to mention contextually. I guess just one last practice note with how we've presented these so far regarding the elemental sphere, as I call it. When you focus on the Dharma sphere, feeling, memory, thought, awareness, okay, that awareness expands, you're now sitting inside of the sphere, and it's almost as if your whole body becomes this crystal, this crystal body, and it'll constantly become more pure and more refined in your practice, which is, one of the benefits of this practice. You purify the center of your body, and because this is the original cell that the whole body spiraled out from, it affects your whole body. Okay, this is our center of our nervous system, our sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system, So it has a lot of implications of purifying the center and then kind of letting it expand out to the whole body. You're just repeating how can I say that that's what happened when we were born. As I've said before, the original cell behind the navel spiraled out to the whole body. So you're kind of mirroring that, going back to that center, going back to that source, you know, the portal to the beyond, you know, the whole known universe and even beyond, because we came from there, and on and on. You'll see in your practice the implications that has. So we start off with that, Dharma sphere, feeling, memory, thought, awareness. That awareness expands. The sphere of Sila, which has 3 spheres, okay, of right speech, right action, right livelihood, and then the following spheres, we'll go through it. Now, that last note that I keep trying to get to, but I keep getting too long-winded in what I'm saying to even get to regarding the elemental sphere. As you probably recall, it's got 5 spheres within it. 4 is really 5 in this practice because you've got the center. So the 4 cardinal directions plus the center. So that gives you the 5 elements. Fire in front, water in back, okay? Wind on the left, earth on the right, and space at the center. So after that initial working with the Dharma sphere, feeling, memory, thought, awareness, that awareness expands. The first thing you're going to see in the long-winded version of this practice, basically the short-winded, I just don't even work with the elemental sphere. I just go right into the all 6 spheres of the Dharmakaya. But for the full-on one, especially when you want to heal your body, physical body, okay? I work with, and even emotional too, healing. When you really need to focus on healing, I work a lot with the elemental sphere. Feeling, memory, thought, awareness, first sphere of Dharma, it expands, you're sitting inside the sphere, then you see the elemental sphere. The same sphere we're always working with, the clear crystal sphere in our center, and there's 5 smaller spheres inside of that. A red sphere in front for the fire element, blue sphere in back for the water element. On our left, we've got a green sphere for the wind. On our right, we have a yellow sphere for earth. And in the center, we have a crystal clear, kind of like cross between clear and white sphere for the space element in the center. And then that spins, and that helps us equalize our awareness of front, back, left, right, hot, cold, subtle of earth, solid of earth, subtle of wind. All those elements become equal and balanced. So that's one thing, and feeling that spiral, because the more of the spiral you can hold, it's like that eye of the hurricane. You can bring your attention to that center, and you can hold more chi and equalize your chi, okay? Then in the long-winded version of this practice, we use that shape of the cross of these 5 spheres, the one in the center and then the 4 cardinal directions connected by a thin line of light. Instead of fusing dense physical elements, now we're fusing states of mind in the Eightfold Noble Path. So then it goes through all of the Eightfold Noble Path that we've done. Sila, okay? Right speech, right action, right livelihood. Well, so there's 3 spheres within the sphere of Sila, and the first 2, right speech and right action, have 4 parts. Right speech, false speech, malicious speech, harsh speech, useless speech. It's hard to say quickly. Tongue gets tied. Okay, right speech, right action, which is basically the Silas, okay? Kill, steal, sexually misconduct, intoxication, okay? So in other words, you're seeing that 4-sided shape. First you fuse the dense physical elements and thereby equalize them. Then you fuse these states of mind, all right? So you're using that shape of the cross, basically, to utilize and equalize and embody all these principles, okay? And then we go through each sphere like that, okay? So in the sphere of Sila, there's 3 spheres, right speech, right action, right livelihood, and then Samadhi, right effort, which also has 4, okay? Prevent, abandon, develop, maintain. Prevent negative thinking, abandon it once you start thinking it. Develop positive thinking and maintain it. Okay, prevent, abandon, develop, maintain. Prevent, abandon, develop, maintain. See, I'm pointing around me. It's like you're seeing yourself at the center of this mandala, and chi flows and the mind goes. So you're putting your attention on this to embody this for yourself. And even this goes, like I said, this goes so far out. When you go train with monks and stuff like I did, you'll see different Buddhas aligning in your center. There are many, many, countless things, frankly. I'm just scratching the surface. This is the essence of it that I found to be most helpful, just kind of focusing on the Eightfold Noble Path to really chop off the unhealthy attachment that leads to suffering. But yeah, that's it. You keep spinning and keep spinning, fusing right effort, right mindfulness would be the next one, body, feeling, mind, dharma, and then concentration, concentrating on that dharma, that sphere expands, and then we work with the sphere we're working on today, the sphere of wisdom, right understanding. So same thing, there's 4. Suffering, attachment, joy, letting go. Suffering, attachment, joy, letting go. Suffering, attachment, joy, letting go. And right intention to relax and let go. And then that'll be where we'll finish with today, for the sphere of wisdom. Okay, so thanks for sticking in there. I know this is very intellectual, but that's why I'm also presenting it this way. Go through the context once or twice, and then just pay attention to the time of when the practice actually begins. And then and practice it over and over and over until you can do it without thinking, and you can show people, okay? And the very, very last contextual thing I want to mention, I've actually been meaning to mention it for the past few videos. There's so much to cover that it's kind of fallen by the wayside. Regarding the elemental sphere, when you spiral that sphere, the idea is that all the chakras, all the centers in your body, whether you're using however many you're using, we're using 6 in this practice, this is standard 5, space at the throat, and then the element of light at the head, and we don't really focus on the crown chakra at the very top of the head, but you could, regardless of, even if you're just using 3 like in the Tao, 3 cauldrons, Jing, Qi, Shen, a lot of times the Tibetan yogis just use 5, 6, 7, Kundalini they have 8, and so forth. The sphere of, all the spheres of the tree of life, 10 spheres or 12 or 13, sometimes you see the esoteric tree of life practitioners using whatever. They all spiral into the center because they all have the same pattern of phenomena. Okay, so that's one thing. When you spiral this pearl, that's one reason why, unless you're healing, as I recommended, I don't go through all the chakras and samharaham, purifying all of them manually, you can say, through the chakras. You just start here, because once this elemental sphere starts spinning, it's going to bring them all into the same center. Another thing, and literally last thing, and then we're hitting the practice, and this is, as I said before, my 2 main internal practices. I do a lot of external yoga, qigong, tai chi. My 2 main internal practices, amongst many, but main ones, are Taoist internal alchemy, which is all about the cultivation of immortality, and then this practice, universal body, as I've come to call it, which is just the Dharmakaya. Okay, and so I do a lot of Taoist inner alchemy, which all Chinese medicine came out. It's basically self-Chinese medicine, opening your meridians and so forth. And the reason I'm plugging this is because, in the name of what I just said regarding all chakras becoming one, I would say quintessential, certainly the most famous of all Taoist meditation is called the microcosmic orbit, which is just the 2 main meridians in your body, from the perineum up the spine, over the top of the head, to the soft palate, and then from the perineum up the front of the body to the tongue. Tongue touches the roof of the mouth, and now the main back channel, which is yang, or fire, in your body, and the main water channel in your body at the front, Ren and Du, all right, or governing and functional vessel channel, same, or one loop, and all the chakras become one, and it governs the yin-yang flow of energy in your whole body. Well, this pearl or sphere, same thing that we're using to spiral, and in this practice it's spiraling sideways, and it's spiraling always to the right, to the right, to the right, to the right. Well, the orbit is basically that same spiral, but it's spiraling down the front and up the back. So a lot of times, even when I do the orbit, which is every day, I spiral this pearl like a pearl rolling down a hill, and I feel the same thing. All of those centers falling into the same center via the orbit. So it's kind of like the orbit spiraling, and then they all fuse here, and then it expands, and I can go through this whole practice. So I'm just mentioning that if you're familiar with the orbit or yoga and a lot of chakra work, like I said, even the tree of life, I've done some path working and stuff, you can bring them all to the center, and then you do it from here. So whatever your elemental system is, simply underlining once again why I just shared all that, is that they all fuse here. You want to bring all aspects of yourself to one place. That's like part of the level, or part of the idea with the immortal level of this, the immortal cultivation, is that, it's kind of like death practice, kind of. I mean, Einstein already proved there's really no death. It's always just transforming into another level of energy. Well, the big problem at death that a lot of masters talk about, first and foremost, is fear. And fear makes chi scatter. All right? this is kind of like practice of bringing all of your elements, bringing all of your senses, bringing all of the layers of your mind to one place. And then like refracting sunlight through a magnifying glass, it's focused, it's concentrated. And you know, it's kind of like you go to bed every night. If you're totally stressed out and freaking out, and your energy's all over the place, you're not going to get a good night's sleep, and you're not going to wake up refreshed. Well, if you think of that as kind of like death practice or a mini death, I mean, it is. We go totally, you know, if someone come in a room and look at people sleeping, if they didn't see them breathing, they look dead. They're totally, you know, still. It's the same idea. So you want to totally integrate yourself. And that's the idea. When the moment of death comes and you bring all those layers of your mind, all your feeling, memory, thought, awareness, all your elements, and so forth. You know, we talk about having a conscious life, but you want to have a conscious death, of course, again, to use the word. I prefer the term digestion, you know, the G-O-D, the three Godheads, and, you know, generator, operator, destructor. I just prefer the term digestion. It's the same thing. It's all that Saturn energy of the, you know, of the spleen, stomach, pancreas, in Chinese medicine, Saturn, you know. It's about digestion. So it's a little less threatening than death. So this is all about digestion, that clear light in the core of the, you know, cosmic digestion, you could say. Okay, so a little soundbite for you. Bottom line, you can use this with the orbit or any other elemental system that you have. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Let's go ahead and begin our practice. The Dharmakaya, we're going to go through the sphere of Dharma, as always. Dharma, Sila, Samadhi, and then Panna, the sphere of wisdom. All right, and we will utilize the mental recitation of Sama Arahang as the spoken word, and as always, the crystal sphere. And as always, the crystal sphere as our object of visualization. But as I've said before, with the repetitive word in particular, once you can see and or feel this sphere in your center, okay, the repetitive word, you won't need it as much. You're really just using the repetitive word. If you catch your attention drifting, you use the word as a vehicle to bring it back. But through time, it'll mostly just be the visualization and the feeling of the sphere. So, without further ado, let us go ahead and begin our practice. And it's really nice to do a little yoga and breathing first. I'm going to go right into it just for the sake of your time. But even just to relax your spine a little bit, a little crane and turtleneck, kind of like that when you come sitting. A little bellows breathing. Really charge up that core, okay? Get the chi moving. Really helps, all right, before you practice. So let's go ahead and begin with the Dharmakaya, the sphere of wisdom. Come to meditation in any comfortable seated position. With your palms face up in an open circuit mudra, thumbs interlaced, tongue gently pressed and held to the roof of your mouth. Establish a long, effortless belly breath so that your belly expands like a balloon as you inhale, and it flattens as you exhale. And bring one pointed attention to the crystal sphere of light in the region behind your navel, in the center of the body where you feel the energy the strongest. Bring your eyes, your mind, and the totality of your awareness to the radiant nucleus of the crystal sphere in your center of gravity. And with your eyes, mind, and awareness effortlessly connected to the radiant nucleus of that sphere, mentally in your mind recite the words Sama Arahang, Sama Arahang, Sama Arahang to purify your mind and to allow the four mental aggregates of feeling, memory, thought, and awareness to fall into the same center. If you prefer, you can also use the mental recitation of the words stop and stop, still and still, clear and clear, so that the mind becomes stopped, still, and clear. Just keep emptying yourself, each layer of your mind, as they arise in your awareness, each feeling, each memory, each thought, relax to awareness, the clear light of awareness, the radiant nucleus of the pearl itself in the center of your effortlessly breathing belly, until that radiant center of the pearl expands by itself to surround your body so that your entire body is inside of the pearl. At which time, immediately return your attention, first, last, and always, to the radiant nucleus of the center of your effortlessly breathing belly and the crystal sphere of light that we are visualizing and feeling there. And if you're going through the rapid cycle of this practice, you'd simply just bring awareness now to the Eightfold Noble Path, beginning with Sila. Just keep emptying yourself moment by moment, breath by breath, relaxing and letting go to the radiant nucleus of the pearl, and allow to fall to that same center, the sphere of Sila with its 3 spheres: right speech, right action, right livelihood. Allow to fall to that same center until that center expands again and you're sitting inside of an even more purified and radiant sphere. To the nucleus of that sphere, allow to fall into the same center the layers of Samadhi with its 3 spheres, 3 more folds of the Eightfold Noble Path. Right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. And the radiant nucleus of the pearl will expand again, and you bring to that radiant nucleus the layers we're working with today within the sphere of Panna, wisdom, right understanding, that suffering is attachment and joy is letting go, and the intention to practice the systematic, skillful act of letting go of the unhealthy attachment that causes suffering. Right understanding and right intent fall into the same center, and that center expands again so that you are sitting inside of an even more radiant, perpetually and increasingly radiant spheres that, when you empty yourself to the radiant nucleus of, expand by itself and you become that radiance. So that is the quick version for you, just so you see what it looks like. But let's actually take our time today a little bit and really stretch out these cosmic gears of, this is like a cosmic spaceship. I mean, universal body. That's why you hear some of the more well-defined descriptions of UFOs, and they're all pearls. Because in an infinite universe, light is very, very slow. You have to move faster to the speed of thought, which is kind of the subtle realm we're working with today. Right understanding, right thought. So bring all of your awareness once again to the radiant center of the center. Put your mind at rest, in the bright, radiant nucleus of the pearl, and allow to fall into oneness of that radiant nucleus, the layers of your mind, feeling, memory, thought, awareness, feeling, memory, thought, awareness, feeling, memory, thought, awareness, until that awareness expands by itself to surround your body. You're sitting inside of a clear, radiant pearl. Whole body, feel it inside the pearl, and return your attention immediately to the radiant center of that pearl, and notice that the elemental sphere appears, the 5 smaller spheres inside of it. A red fire sphere in front, blue water sphere in back, a stable earth, yellow sphere on the right, a subtle wind sphere on the left, green, and a clear white space sphere in the center. And each sphere is connected by 4 thin lines of light so that you keep emptying your mind to the radiant nucleus of the central sphere. And that sphere will begin to spin, all of them, to the right. Spin right and let it spin and let it spin. And keep emptying yourself perpetually, each feeling, each memory, each thought, awareness itself to the nucleus of that pearl as it spins. And allow it to draw into oneness, all the layers of yourself. And your awareness of the elements, hot and cold, and front and back, become equal and balanced. Stable and subtle of earth and wind. On the left and the right become equal and balanced in the center of the spiraling sphere, in your effortlessly breathing belly. And it spins so fast, and your awareness of hot and cold, stable and subtle, becomes so equalized that that sphere expands again in an even more radiant sphere to surround your body. Immediately when this happens, which may take a while, just keep practicing, and you'll feel that expanding from the radiant nucleus of the pearl in the center of your effortlessly breathing belly out to surround your whole body. And once that happens, return awareness to the radiant center of the center, and you'll see another pearl, the sphere of sila, morality, with its 3 spheres of right speech, right action, right livelihood. And allow the pearl to continue to spiral in your belly and draw into the radiant nucleus of that pearl the 4 layers of right speech. False speech, malicious speech, harsh speech, and useless speech. We're using this, again, that digestive power to relax and let go of the impetus and to dissolve false speech, malicious speech, harsh speech, and useless speech. Because the power of the word is one of the most powerful things that we were given as humans. So to work on right speech is very important. Dissolving false speech, malicious speech, harsh speech, and useless speech into the radiant nucleus of the pearl till it expands again. And you see the second sphere of the sphere of sila, right action. Same thing, let the pearl spin, turn right and dissolve the impetus to kill, the impetus to steal that which was not freely given, the impetus to perform sexual misconduct, which just means harmful sex, sexual activity that's bad for you, bad for others, and the impetus to intoxicate yourself with forms of inebriation that are, as the name implies, toxic, namely alcohol, irreversible damage on the human brain, more so than any other drug. But don't believe me because I said so. Reflect for yourself within this practice. What is good for me? What is good for others? And whatever isn't good for you and good for others, allow that to dissolve into the radiant nucleus of the center. The impetus to kill, steal, perform sexual misconduct, and to intoxicate yourself until that center expands again in the 3rd sphere of the 3 of sila, right livelihood, fall into the same center, a livelihood that is good for you and good for others. And let it spin until that sphere expands again to give way to the sphere of samadhi, concentration, with its 3 spheres. The sphere of right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration that fall into the same center. Right effort has 4 layers. Prevent, abandon, develop, maintain. Preventing the negative thinking and negative attachments and abandoning them once we notice we are holding them. Developing positive thinking. Thinking that's good for us and good for others. Putting our chi where we want it, not where advertising or anyone tells us to put it. And once we decide and find ourselves right thinking, developing the kind of thoughts we want. The fourth layer of the 4 layers of right effort is maintaining those positive thinking. Prevent, abandon, develop, maintain. Prevent, abandon, develop, maintain. Let it spin, let it spin, let it spin. Drawing those layers into the same center until that center expands again, giving way to the second of the 3 spheres in the sphere of samadhi, sphere of right mindfulness, which is just satipatthana. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it again. The 4 frames of mindfulness. Mindfulness of body, mindfulness of feeling, mindfulness of mind, mindfulness of dharma. So let it spin and draw into your center. That mindfulness, what does your body feel like? What do your feelings feel like? What does your mind feel like? And what is awareness of dharma? Awareness of the impermanent reality underlying body, feeling, and mind and all known phenomena in the universe. Let the awareness of those 4 layers, body, feeling, mind, and dharma, fall into the same radiant center of the center. And the third and final sphere of the 3 in the sphere of samadhi is, which means concentration, is the sphere of concentration itself. So kind of like the idea of the 4 frames of mindfulness, body, feeling, mind, dharma. In Dharmakaya practice, we want to concentrate upon dharma. So be aware of your body, your feelings, your mind, but bring your undivided concentration to dharma at the center of the center, and let that dharma awareness expand once again. And now we find ourselves within an even more radiant pearl, with an even more radiant center. And we see the sphere in our center of Panna, the sphere of wisdom, which has 2 spheres, the remaining 2 folds of the Eightfold Noble Path that we've sequentially worked with and embodied through this practice. The sphere of right understanding with its 4 spokes of the wheel, which are the 4 noble truths: suffering, attachment, joy, letting go, and right intention. Once we've looked at suffering, attachment, joy, letting go, what do we want to intend, put our focus on between suffering, the cause of suffering, and non-attachment or joy, and the cause of joy? That 4th noble truth, the cause of joy, the skillful action of letting go of the unhealthy attachment that causes suffering in Dharmakaya practice, is where we want to put our right intent. Because chi flows where the mind goes, and if we focus upon that, we can embody the wisdom yielded by this sphere. So let that pearl spin, let it spin, turn right and turn right, until all your awareness of suffering and the attachment that we have to it, and the joy and the non-attachment that we can focus on to cultivate it. And bring your intention to practice that. Right intention to practice the skillful action of letting go of the unhealthy attachment that causes suffering, and just let that fall into the same center as the pearl spins. Suffering, attachment, joy, letting go. Suffering, attachment, joy, letting go. Suffering, attachment, joy, letting go. And let it spin, let it spin, let it spin, let it spin until that right intention to relax and let go into the nucleus of the radiant pearl in the center of your effortlessly breathing belly. Relax and let go into that nucleus with your mind at rest in that radiant center, until that center expands by itself and you find yourself sitting inside of an even more purified and radiant sphere. And when that happens, first, last, and always, return awareness, your eye, mind, heart, and awareness to the radiant nucleus of the pearl. And into that radiant nucleus, empty your feelings, memory, thought, and awareness. Whatever you feel, remember, think, and are aware of, bring that awareness to the center of the center all the time. And into that center for a brief stage of yin, stage, receptive stage meditation, relax and let go. Relax each feeling, each memory, each thought. Relax your awareness itself into the center of the center. Relax and let go. I invite you in your own practice to not only take your time with this whole practice, but really take your time in the yin stage. This stage, once you've set up this process, just relax and receive the benefits of it. See how it speaks to you and what it communicates to you. Because if we are indeed connected to the universal body and all of the sages and saints and bodhisattvas and all the way up to the most refined primordial Dharmakaya of Buddha himself, as they said when I learned this practice. We talk about the Akashic memory, the memory field of all that came before us. We are connected to that same center from which you can ask any question and from which you can wish for anything that you desire. Just keep in mind, of course, that that desire is amplified many, many, many times when your desire is aligned with what you could call the higher desire of wishing for the benefit of all beings. We call compassion the intention to alleviate suffering for all beings. So whatever you feel on any level from this practice in this present moment, bring that feeling, memory, thought, awareness, to the center of the center once again. And whatever that feeling is for you now, even if it's faint, which it may be, if you're just coming to this practice, it will grow through time. Bring that feeling to the center of the center. Let it collect and concentrate in the center of the pearl and press save so that you can carry this sense of tranquility and insight with you. And from that radiant nucleus, let us wish. Rub your hands together. Drop your eyes, mind, and awareness once again to the radiant nucleus of the pearl. And by the power of our personal center and the universal center, which it is intimately and infinitely connected, the highest embodiment of wellness, good fortune, and the alleviation of suffering for all sentient beings. I think, I feel, I am.